Are you looking for a podcast about the ever-present omniscient mold?
You must be thinking of another podcast.
And now's the part where I find the banners and the music. Hello.
Hello.
You'll notice that today is YMBToAP, but different. Welcome to the show.
Well, hello.
Hi, this is my good friend Tracy. Tracy's going to be hanging out with us today in place of dear Robert. Robert's off attending to some family business. So let's give Tracy the warmest of YMBToAP welcomes by cracking open a delicious beverage.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah. Cracking it.
I like it.
What are you drinking today?
This is a cherry lime soda.
Ooh.
From Target. It's my favorite day. Super good.
Excellent.
You should try it.
I'm drinking an Athletic Brewing Co. non-alcoholic IPA.
Oh, nice.
It's called Upside Dawn. It's my favorite one. Upside Dawn.
The little things make me laugh.
Yes.
I'm going to need to try it. Let me write that down.
It's very good. In terms of like non-alcoholic beers, it's my favorite one. It's perfect amount of hops.
I don't know that I've tried a non-alcoholic beer.
Really?
Actually. I mean, I am in Wisconsin, so...
Yeah, I guess that's like the beer land. If you drink non-alcoholic up there, they look at you like, what are you drinking?
Yeah, that's also like I have trouble lately. I feel like I might be lactose intolerant trying to say that you... Yeah, not a big fan of some dairy in the dairy state.
The land of the cows. Well. That's not good.
Yeah, the cows and the beer.
Yeah.
Right. But I should try that. I think that would be really good.
I think you'd like it.
I would love it.
So I've brought you on this beautiful show today to talk about your beautiful life and what it is like to be homesteading with Tracy.
Homesteading. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious to hear that.
So we're Tracy.
I know, like, man, that's gotta be a thing now.
You could be on like HGTV or something, I swear.
I watch HGTV probably far too much. Although I do prefer the previous HGTV shows before everything was Property Brothers and House Hunters and Lover Listed.
There are so many variations of all those.
I know, and I don't mind them at all, like in doses, but it's everything. And I remember back when they had like Genevieve, or they had like While You Were Out sort of things, where it's like that, like half hour you went, not Trading Places, Trading Spaces. Was it Trading Spaces?
Something. Trading Wives. That's another one.
Trading Wives. Now I've seen Seeking Sister Wife.
Oh my God.
I've watched.
I have not seen that one.
You haven't seen? Oh, well, that's because you have to watch, TLC, the Learning Channel. You learn a lot.
What are you learning on the channel?
I'm learning a lot about different types of relationships.
Okay,
that's what I'm learning. Yeah. So, but yeah, homesteading. Honestly, it's weird to say because like we're just so used to being farmers. Like so to like then say homesteading, I'm like, we're kind of still farmers, right?
Yeah, it's farming, it's homesteading. Like, is there a difference?
I would say generally yes. I haven't looked it up officially.
Okay.
But I would say if your like primary income is based upon like cattle or whatever you're farming, if you have goats, if you are doing cash crop or things like that, that tends to be referred to more as farming, dairy farming, things like that. Homesteading is more, you might sell some of it, but it's usually on a lower scale. And for the most part, just like, sustain yourselves for the most part. Right.
That's the coolest thing that I think about when I think about homesteading. Like it's being able to like live off of your own land and kind of be off the grid almost, like you're self-sustaining.
It is kind of cool. Like anytime, like even today we had salad, which is random. But all of it was stuff that we grew, right?
That's so
So it was lettuce
cool.
that we grew, spinach, the radishes, the dill. Dill, be careful of, because we have dill everywhere right now, and we
Kind of a
did
big
not
deal.
intend. I am kind of a big dill. I'm just letting you know. And we got a lot of big dill around here. So watch out for that. But yeah, I mean, I grew up, we were at a dairy farm, so we had about 40 head of cattle,
Wow.
primarily Holstein, and we did
Nice.
that. So, like, when they say, like, what, did you grow up in a barn? Like, yeah, I did. Thanks. I mean, legitimately, so many of my early memories were like being in the barn. And I love the cows.
Yeah.
Loved and loved them. They were like my best buds. And if I had a hard day, I would just go walk around and talk to my friends,
Oh, they're
which
so
were the
sweet.
cows. I know.
I love cows. I wish that I
Yeah.
lived near just a farm where I could go hang out with cows all day. Like I think cows are just big puppies, and I just want to pet them.
The ones I've experienced are, I know there's a lot of people who are super afraid of cows, and there can
Wait,
be some not so great cows.
who's
There
afraid
can
of
be.
cows?
I've heard of people where they're like, "Oh, I just have really bad experiences." Now, some are kind of wild. Like we had one, and I'm trying to remember what we called it. It was something like Zap, because it was just it. This cow was crazy, and I was not allowed to go near this cow. Like that was
Okay.
just a given because it would kick all the
Oh
time.
no.
But most of them, honestly, the main thing is they're very unaware. Like imagine going to like a grocery store and there's somebody just standing in the middle of the aisle that is like talking on their phone or talking to someone else, and you're like, excuse me, can I get through? Right?
Yeah.
That's like a cow. Because like you
Okay.
can sit there and honestly you can like body slam. That's me body slamming.
Did you grow up body slamming the cows?
I mean, I did it, but sometimes you try to move them to get past them, they won't budge.
Hmm.
Like they will not budge, and like they won't even notice you standing there half the time. So if you're staying too close, and they're just like, "I'm gonna go over there and get some cud to chew," and you're in their way, they're just gonna kind of bulldoze you, not intentionally. They just
Okay.
like they're just so unaware.
I guess that's where we get the
So
term bulldozing.
you know what? I never really thought about
It could be.
that. Could be. Now bulls are a different story, though. Like,
Bulls, I think I am afraid of, just because like they have the ability to kill you.
yeah, that is a healthy fear to have. You definitely want to steer clear of them. I mean, there's some that are
Steer clear.
nice. Steer. Ah, that was amazing. I didn't even realize it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm gonna keep that in mind. Like, I'm like making note next time I talk about it. We did have a bull that was not the nicest, and we had it in the barn, and we had it like they had like a heavier like chain on this guy because he was
Oh.
like he was top. But actually, he was in a barn by himself, and I felt bad for him, and
Oh.
I put pictures of cows on the wall for him because I thought, like, I didn't want him to be alone, you know, and even though he was kind of a jerk, I didn't
So
want him to be
precious.
like, I do. So I went through a farming magazine that we had, and I cut out pictures of the cows, and I just taped it on. And then I was
Like
trying
this
to
cow's in prison, like getting photos from his girlfriends or something.
yes, I'm telling you, that's what it was like. And I was like, you know what? I feel like he's reformed, right? He's good now. So I am going to try to touch this bull, right?
All right.
And I'm at least smart enough to know, like, don't put my hand anywhere where like it could get smushed, right? You don't
Okay.
want that, clearly. So I'm like, I'm just gonna like boop him.
Yeah,
Just
just
a
boop
boop.
and snoop.
He did not like the boop. No. It was like, I swear it was like I shocked him with something because like I thought he was gonna break out of his chain. So I learned not to boop bulls,
All right.
just so you know.
Well, it's a good lesson to learn when you're a child, I guess.
It is pretty good. I did not attempt that ever again. Ever again. No.
Don't boop the bulls.
Do not boop the bulls. And always try to resist. If they've got like the ring in their nose, don't. Mm-mm.
What is the ring
Impulsive
about?
thoughts. I think that part of it is that it can kind of keep them in line if you need to, because
Just like
that's
as a
pretty
handle?
painful. Like if you need to, I never done it. Now,
Okay.
intrusive thoughts told me maybe I should.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
I did not do the intrusive thoughts, which is progress with
Yeah.
my mental health. Um, but yeah, I need to look that up because, I mean, clearly there has to be a reason.
It's gotta be. It's not just for looks. Like, they're not just out there
I
like,
mean,
"Oh,
it
I can do
looks pretty
something here."
badass.
It does, like
Let's
punk
be
rock.
real. It does, because then they look just like, oh my gosh, they're so mean, even if they're not.
Yeah, don't mess with that guy.
Right? It's like an emo bull. That's what
Yeah,
it is. It's just
fascinating. So you
crying.
grew up having cows, and you
Hmm.
don't have cows currently. So when and why did the cows go?
It sounds real bad. Like, what did we do with the cows?
What happened to the
So,
cows?
so many things. So when I think I was in second grade, our barn burnt down,
Oh,
actually.
shit.
Yeah. So, when you are like bedding cows, so you're putting bedding underneath them so that they stay nice and clean and all that good stuff. There's a variety of materials you can use. Most common is straw, right?
Mhm.
But we, for some reason, I've never like kind of re-asked about it, but we were using paper
Oh.
and we had a paper shredder. And as I say this is kind of, I feel like sacrilegious, so I feel kind of bad. But like we would get like the old like songbooks from the church, like they would donate
Oh,
them. So we could use those in like old newspapers and stuff like that. Now I think back, I was like,
interesting.
oh, they donated to us. So it must have been okay because it's going to a good cause. And that would shred it into just these like little newspaper strips. And we would
Mhm.
have piles of these all
Yeah.
around the haymow. And like as a kid, we would go up into the rafters and we would jump in to these
I've
piles.
seen that in movies and stuff, and it always looks so much
It
fun.
was amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised none of us got hurt. Seriously,
Yeah.
please. But it was the most fun. The only thing is because it was like newspapers, we ended up with like ink all over us as
Oh,
well
yeah.
too. Yeah, so that was fun. But apparently what happened is at one point they were shredding more paper and one spark
Oh,
came out of the shredder and hit the paper and just wet everything went up.
were the
And
cows
so
okay?
the cows were okay. All the
Okay.
cows got out. They were able to get all of them out. The As far as I know, the cats and everything got out.
Okay.
Like now, I don't know because I was little and they might have shielded me, but as far as I
Mm,
was ever told, they were good. And we continued to have a really solid barn cat population, so I believe that they were all good too.
okay.
But as soon as they recognized that they got like all the animals out, all the stuff, a huge amount of fire trucks coming over, and then my parents came and pulled us out of school. And they're like something bad had happened. I was like, what's going on? And they're like, the barn burned down. And I was like, I was too young to like really know what that meant apart from like, do we still need to do chores? Like,
Yeah.
or not? Like, I feel bad, but I just remember my parents were like devastated,
I can
and we stayed,
imagine.
yeah, someplace else that night because that was like their whole livelihood.
My gosh.
So, so yeah, they basically we moved the cows to a different farm. We rented kind of a barn from somebody else, so we were able to move them over there. So we kind of farmed from that area for another couple of years until my parents were just kind of done with it. And
Mm.
sold off the herd, all the stuff. They had an auction. I remember that. And then that was kind of it, honestly. My dad, now we still did farming. So our neighbors, who they're like my other parents because I've known them literally since I was born, we
Mhm.
would go, and my dad was a hired hand for them. So he would
Okay.
still go down, farm by them. we would go down and do chores by him. He would pay us, of course. And so we were just still always in farming in some way, shape, or form after
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it was tough. And eventually we kind of built a part of the barn. I have this weird memory, and I don't know why we did this because it probably wasn't the smartest thing. Shocking, which is that half of the barn was kind of still there. The roof was like hanging over the edge of the barn. And we decided before they finally took it down, we were going to slide down it. Like it was
Oh
a
my
big
god.
slide.
What?
We did it! Hurt like hell.
I can
It's
imagine.
shingles.
Yeah.
Why did we think this was a good idea? I don't know. But it was like, when else are you going to be able to like slide down a building?
Yeah.
It
I
was
mean,
just, you
you take the
couldn't resist
opportunity when
that.
it's presented.
You do. Don't do it though. I mean,
No.
would I do it again? Maybe.
As an
Maybe.
adult,
As an adult,
with
however,
the
I would be
adult body,
smarter.
the adult joints.
I would take a toboggan.
Oh yeah, there
I
you
would,
go.
yeah. I would have something underneath me as opposed to wearing shorts.
Shorts. What?
I know. I don't know why.
Okay.
You know.
I mean,
Weird.
lesson learned. Do you still have
Yeah.
like scars? Because
Not from that actually. I only have scars from when pipeline cleaner spilled on my knees when I was a kid.
ow, that's like
Yeah,
acidic stuff, right?
it is. It is.
Yeah.
Baking soda bath helps a
Mm.
lot, and lots of bandages for a while. So I have those
Ouch.
scars on my knees. So yeah.
Okay.
The
Well, I
other
mean,
scar I have here has nothing to do with farming, and it has to do with me being a jerk to my brother when we were playing Super Mario Brothers, and me continuing to press pause as he was jumping over the little things. Yeah.
that's real like little sibling activities, you know?
I'm pretty sure I was in kindergarten, and I just kept pressing pause as he was jumping over the holes. And then, of course, as I unpressed it, he died
Of
every
course.
single time, right? So he got really mad. He grabbed the controller. These were the old school Nintendo controllers that were like rectangular, like sharp
Yeah.
corners.
Weapon
I'm
shaped.
pulling the wire, right? The cord to pull it back. He lets go. Corner hits me right
Oh,
in the forehead. And
ouchies.
yeah, it broke the skin. There was some blood going on. You know what though? Like, I deserved it. Like, I was being
I
a little
mean, you
shit.
know,
Like, but
what do you have
yeah,
to do
so,
with little sister?
right. So that's where most of my scars. I have the one in my forehead, and then I have the knees from the pipeline cleaner.
Yeah.
Otherwise, seem okay.
All right.
I
Well,
lived.
good. So you guys got rid of the cows after like did you just
Yeah.
like gradually get as the cows like aged out, or did you guys do beef with them, or
Well, we had generally for the cows, unless if they aged out, we would sell them to other
okay.
folks. So when we were doing the auctions, or our neighbor took some of them as well too. So that was fairly simple. Any of the ones that we had that were steers, right? They aged into butchering, of course, and
Yeah.
into food. So, and as we were doing all that, we did have, when I was a kid, we still had like chickens, quite a few actually, and we had some ducks as well
Oh,
too.
duckies.
I'm never allowed to have ducks, is
Oh
what I've
no.
been told. I don't
Why?
remember that much about them, but I was told that they're little jerks, is what
Mm.
I was told. They can be kind of messy, but I think like any animal, it's just like it just depends upon the animal and the environment.
Yeah.
So I would kind of like to try again. But yeah, we had a few ducks. And of course, we had just a ton of barn cats. Like,
So like
I was surrounded.
ducks are I'm gonna show my ignorance here. I know that in Stardew Valley you can sell the feathers. But like in terms of farming, what does a duck give you? Like just eggs, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Just basically the same as chickens, but
for the most part, except for,
fancier, perhaps?
yeah, I would say, for some people, more of the novelty of it. I don't remember having really duck eggs or like eating any of them. And I think that maybe I don't want to say we got the wrong kind, but like I feel like we inherited them somehow, and like we didn't have the right environment for them to like be like sustainable and to continue to give us, anything at that point. I
Okay.
just remember having to like clip their feathers so that they weren't going to just randomly fly away. And I remember having like a kiddie pool that they
Mm.
would
So
just
they would
like
float
hang out
away?
in. I
That's
know, yes,
fun.
I know. So I still wonder if maybe we could try it sometime. But that's also like
That's
I
a
would
pool
like to have a
party.
goat. I would
Oh, a
like to have a
goat,
llama.
yes. I think
I'm
you should
trying.
get a llama because I just wanna see pictures of your llama.
I want an alpaca, honestly.
Yeah. I
And I
want
want like you see them where they like walk them around, like you put the like little
yes,
harness on.
like in Minecraft.
Yes. Oh my
Just walk
gosh.
to your neighbor's new llama and be like,
Yes.
"Arr," sell them stuff.
That's what I want. That's what I want. That's my ideal.
Yeah,
So yes.
that's the picture perfect life.
It is. It is. So yeah,
Have you guys
we
ever had pigs?
no, but my neighbor did. And he would have piglets and things like that. And so we would have to like catch them because you need to like trim like their tails when they're
Oh,
little babies. Yeah.
trim their
So we,
tails.
yeah. I
Why?
my assumption, and it's the same thing sometimes with cows. Sometimes it is so it doesn't get as dirty.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
like for cow tails, like the end is typically like hair, right? And so
Mhm.
then when they're going to the bathroom, guess where things kind of get stuck in there. So sometimes it's just a little bit easier to do that. And then also like I wouldn't say their nails, like their hooves.
The
But there's
hooves.
just different things you have to do when they're little babies. I remember going and running around trying to like catch the little piggies.
Aw.
They were so cute, but they smell.
Yeah, that's
And when
pigs for you.
they but when they get big, they get mean. I'm telling you,
They get
unless if you
so
have
big, like, pigs get
yes,
strangely big, bigger than, like, a normal person would think. The first time
they're
I saw a pig, I
huge.
was like, "There's no flipping way that's a pig, because it's, like, cow-sized or what I
Yeah,
imagined a cow would be, like, they're huge.
massive. Yeah,
Cows are
and you
also
have to
bigger
be
than I thought.
careful. Because they're also like I feel like they're a little bit more aware, but you have to be careful when you're like going in the pen. Like if you were gonna go clean their pen, which is of course just full of poop everywhere,
Of course.
and you're doing that, like they can get really angry and they could easily pin you up against the wall of of
Pigs are
their area, their
scary.
pen.
I know
Yeah.
exactly one fact about pigs, and that's they will eat people, like, the remains of people. So if they can kill
I didn't
people.
even know that.
You didn't know? Yeah, dude, like, whenever okay, I thought this was a fact that just women were born knowing. Like, if you wanna get rid of a body I'm not saying this out loud on a podcast, this is hypothetical. If you wanna get rid of a body, put it in a pig pen because they eat everything except for teeth. Like, they'll eat a body. It's horrifying.
Maybe there's a reason why my parents never told me that.
They eat the evidence, Tracy. They'll eat it.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, like, that
I
was,
just knew that they could, like, seriously hurt you and things like that, but
yeah, they straight up will eat you. I don't know if they've ever eaten a living
yeah,
person that I know of, because I'm not a pig scientist, but
but
they'll
I
eat dead
mean,
people.
if you knew about it, would you live to tell the tale, you know?
You
Like,
never know. This isn't a
it
lot of
blew
murder
my mind.
documentaries. I'm just showing my
I feel like I've watched a lot, but, like, that is something I'm gonna need to look that up. I'm
yeah.
not sleeping tonight
I
until
hope
I
I'm
look that up.
spitting facts. I hope it's not just lies that I've learned on the internet. I'm pretty sure pigs will eat a person.
We've got a lot of research to do because now I gotta think about like why do we trim their tails and like all these things like when you grow up and it's just like oh yeah do that and you're like
Yeah,
okay you assume
I never
your parents.
you also have to, like, do stuff with their hoofs. Like, I'm on this side of TikTok, it's just, like, hoof cleaning TikTok. You been there?
I love hoof cleaning TikTok. Okay,
It's
okay, okay.
so
I
weird.
love it because I used to watch it when we would have the hoof trimmers come by us.
Oh.
Don't ask me why, but like, yeah,
I
they
mean,
like
I
bring
watch
the
TikToks of it,
cow.
I know exactly
I
why.
know. But telling you, I searched those TikToks out because I was like, man, I used to want to do that,
It looks like
honestly.
it would be a fun and rewarding job. I mean, it's
Right.
probably dangerous. You could get kicked in the head, but on the days that you're not kicked in the head, you're helping out horses and stuff and shaving their feet.
Yeah. I mean, they have all sorts of contraptions that they go in and it keeps them safe. And sometimes,
Yeah.
depending upon what it is, they'll lay them over to their side so you can
Mm.
easily do it. Now, granted, they'll still sometimes get a little bit wound up, right? But generally, you're helping them. And like, I always felt so bad when they would like find like a stone in one of them
Yeah.
and get that out. But then they would tape it up really good, treat it, and then it wouldn't take long. And that gal was feeling much better after. So like
Yeah.
I loved it. Anytime I saw them come in, I was just like enthralled. And I would just like watch them, which was probably kind of creepy. And I'm like, why is this little girl just watching us do hoof
Just
trimming?
heavy breathing over their shoulders, like checking out the hooves.
Does that one have
What
a
you
rock
doing?
in it?
What has that
Yeah.
told you?
Is there an abscess there? What color of the spray stuff are you gonna put on there? What color wrap? Because I like, and
Oh,
then of course
man.
I stole some of the wrap because put it in my
Wrap
hair.
your own hooves, you know?
Yeah, so now I do watch it on TikTok and it is fantastic. I love it, and I have like second guess. I'm like, I should have done that.
Should have been a hoof
That
trimmer.
I should have. That would
But
have
then
been
we would have
amazing.
never met, and then we wouldn't be doing this podcast.
This is true. This is true. So I'm not going to go back in time, but maybe my next career is hoof
Yeah.
trimming.
There you go. It's never too late.
I love that. I think I'm going to do it.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break to think about some hoof trimming, and we will be right back after these messages.
Oh, you think you know what happened to me? Look, I'm back, and I'm about to unearth all the secrets in Old Cove. So do a little refresher on Season 1 and get caught up before Season 2 arrives. Trust and believe. You don't want to miss what's coming.
Welcome to Severed, a podcast suite that offers a rotation of content centered around true crime to paranormal cases. Severed True Crime covers high to low profile true crime cases like the Westfield Watcher, The Staircase, The Keepers, and other binge-worthy favorites on Netflix. Severed Paranormal peers into the corner-moon windows of the Amityville Horror House, the Conjuring House, and other mysterious cases, locations, and urban legends.
I'm Harry Chambers.
And I'm Drew Hudson. We want you along for this investigative and haunting roundup. Scare you soon.
I brought our faces back too soon. I'm doing this without Robert for the first time, and all the buttons are so intimidating.
You got this. It's great.
All right. So if you are loving this episode, but you crave more YMBToAP, you want more of it, you can always get hours and hours and hours of bonus content by going on over to patreon.com/YMBToAP. That stands for You Must Be Thinking of Another Podcast. That's this podcast you're listening to right now. Over there, you can sign up to be a patron, just like Tracy. Tracy's one of our patrons, one of our Zeitgeist tier baddies. She is actually a newer patron, which means that she pushed us over the edge of the goal that we were trying to do. And as the third patron joining within the last couple of weeks here, we are now going to be doing the Hot Ones Challenge. So Robert and I will be partaking in that sometime in the very near future. We hit our goal like way before the 4th of July. Like it's not even June yet as of the date we're recording this. So I'm just very happy that we have such support from our community. It really means a lot to us, even though I know I have to eat hot wings about it. So thank you all so very much about that. So yeah, join us to be a patron. Why don't you? We have a website if you feel like checking out some more content. We've got our whole Friday Roundup feed over there. We've got the entire podcast feed that just drops in audio. We have pictures of our faces. We have a website that is dedicated entirely to selling you stickers of YMBToAP. And I think that they're pretty cool. Why don't you get yourself a little sticker as a treat? I give you permission.
Stickers.
Let's get you back to that regularly scheduled YMBToAP content, which is more Tracy time.
Love it.
Okay. So we've talked about cows. We've talked about you want a goat. Tell me what draws you about goats, because I personally love goats, but I feel like a lot of people are scared of them.
Goats, there's multiple reasons. So I feel like, it's less commitment than a cow. Like, I would love to
Okay.
have some more cows, honestly. But I know that's not in the cards for us. A goat is a little bit easier, of course, to have upkeep and things like that. I would like for them to clear out the grass is one of the main benefits. They are cute, of course.
They're so cute.
And I don't know. We've gone back and forth because we have talked about whether or not we would get milking goats.
Oh
And
yeah, goats give you milk
right,
too. I forget about
yeah,
goats like having produce.
I always think about, but like I think about like making like the goat milk soaps and lotions and all
Yeah,
that
and
stuff
you can
because
make
it's so
goat
good for you.
cheese.
I know I can make goat cheese. That would be amazing. So, but also, just like any animal, goats can be kind of mean. They kick.
Yeah, they do. And
They
they kick with their
do.
whole body. Like they'll push you over.
I know. It's just like they're just full thing, full on, and you're done. You know? I feel like they could kick me, I would fall over, and I would still be like, "You're adorable.
Yeah,
Do it again." Right?
exactly.
Probably not the most healthy relationship, but I would dig it. Like, so I've thought of goats, I've thought of sheep. And of course, like llamas, alpacas. I tried to tell my dad that I was going to, take the wool and then spin it into yarn.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Clearly, I'm going to do that because just like so many of my other hobbies, I will follow through on that one that
Definitely.
requires another living being. So that's pretty much why I haven't gone down that road because, it's one thing if I like don't do a hobby for a while, it just impacts me. But if there's a living thing that I am impacting, kind of like gonna make sure I'm ready for it.
Yeah. There's like a I know that they're not pets. There's a distinction between
Yeah,
having pets and having animals that you care for that create products for you. Like that's I think why I wouldn't be able to be a farmer is because every
stuff.
animal in my vicinity is like, that's my pet. Like I
Yes.
can't unpet them.
That was always hard for me, honestly. It still is like with the chickens and things like
Yeah.
that. Like I struggled with that as a kid. Um, like I'm a sweet soul, and so
Yeah.
I would cry anytime anything was going, whether it was planned or not. I've gotten somewhat better. I think the main thing that helps me is like knowing that we used everything we could. Like, so I am very much like, if we're going to do it, and obviously, if I'm going to go and purchase something someplace else, anyways, at least now I know that they've been cared for well. They've had like a super good life. And
Right.
like we're honoring that is kind of my thought. And I have this thing where I feel like I kind of like just sit there like and it's in my mind and I'm just like, thank you. Like, thank you for like giving that sacrifice. And I still sometimes struggle with it. After a while,
Yeah.
some of it does get easier. There were certain items, like certain cows that were very much more like pets to me,
Mhm.
and that was tough. Like, I understood it and I was okay with it, but, like, I still, like
Hurts the heart. Like it's a
what?
living creature. How could you not feel for it, you know?
I feel like if you don't at all, I don't know. I was supposed for maybe some of, like, the really big operations, right? You can't. And for some people, it's just they're so used to it. I'm much of
Yeah.
an empath, to, like, not feel anything for it. My dad, right, is super used to it. He's been doing this since he was, like, born.
Right.
So for him, it's just kind of normal. But even still, there's certain ones that get to you. Like, there was a cow that was, like, in love with my dad, Angie.
Oh.
Yeah, Angie hated my mom. She
Hated the competition.
if she saw my mom next to my dad, it was not going to go well.
That's
No,
funny.
she would
Yeah.
definitely take my
I
mom out.
I think the farmers though, like even if they do get a little bit like calloused over time, you know, to the fact that like I have to surrender this animal to the butcher or to like the farming, I think that a hallmark of farmers is that you have to love animals, because if you don't love animals, like you wouldn't be treating them well enough, you know. There's
Yeah,
not that aspect of welfare anymore. So there's
especially I
always
would say family farms for sure.
yeah, especially that.
Right, the larger corporations, that's a little bit different. And there's not as many, of course, family farms around anymore, and they're just really not lucrative
Yeah.
at all. But you know that the people who get into it are there because either there's history in that, they've been doing it for generations, but they also do care so much. I mean, you think of all of the farms and how many, like, I always say, like the barn cats, like, okay, you have these grumpy old farmers, love them to death. They're grumpy old farmers. They know this. And yet they have all these cats running
Yeah.
around. Like, you can't necessarily be a bad person and then have a cat that likes you, right?
Yeah.
It's different if the cat hates you, then you're probably not a good person, right?
Cats know they're a good judge of character.
No. And yet, like, as much as they'll be like, oh, these cats, they're still there.
They're
They're
still
still there.
putting out, you know, the food
They're
secretly at
still
night.
putting out the food. Yeah. So there's definitely love of it there, and like there's like a purpose for everything that they do.
Right.
And every farmer I've like known or interacted with was always like really conscientious about like taking care of their animals, making sure that everything was as good as it could be, right? Knowing that not everybody had a huge amount of money to do all the best things that we potentially could do, but they always care about their animals. So, pretty solid group of farmers around here.
That's
Still
good.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot of neighbors that are farmers too, right? Like
Yeah.
you have how much land do you have?
We have all in about 50 acres.
That's so
Um,
much.
43, I want to say, is tillable land. And that's what we rent out to our neighbors. And they
Okay.
do, yeah, right now there's soybeans that are planted. I think next year will be wheat. They do the crop rotation. Some of it they sell. If it's corn, they'll sell that. Or if it's hay, they'll bale it and feed it to their cattle. So we have several. Our closest neighbor has always farmed. They don't have milking cows anymore. They do have steers and beef cattle and things like
Okay.
that now. And then we still have family that, like, because my dad came from a farming family, and there's a lot of them that still farm. So we do still go and help them. Primarily, my dad does. Last year I baled hay.
Nice.
Um, yep, that's right. Heavy machinery, and took me right back there, and it was kind of amazing. So like we're never far from it, even if we're not actively having like a dairy farm or a working farm. There's always some aspect of farming that we're
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
So I've always wanted to drive farm equipment. Is it like as cool as it looks? It looks like it feels powerful.
It does feel powerful. It does. I was always bad at shifting. That was my big thing. But
Oh,
like,
yeah. So are there like other gears that you have to go into? It's not just like a
yeah,
turn it on
no,
and go.
it's getting much better, right? Like as technology keeps going on,
Yeah.
like the newer ones, oh my gosh, like you could just drive them like a normal vehicle. They're phenomenal.
That's
A
cool.
lot of them now have like GPS and navigation, like you just set it and forget it. No, you don't forget it. You do still pay attention, but
Hopefully.
it can do most of it for you, which is fascinating. But like I remember like being young, and it probably isn't like the best thing, but like being like 6 or so steering the tractor because we only had so many of us. There was my two brothers, my parents, and let's be real. I was like a 6-year-old little girl. I wasn't going to do as much physical labor as everybody else.
Yeah, you're not gonna be out there, like, physically hauling hay or
Right.
something.
And so, like, if we were going to pick stones, so when you're plowing up and these big stones come up, clearly you want to get them out of there because they're going to ruin your machinery. So you have to
Right.
go around, you have to pick the stones. I wasn't going to be that much help. And so my dad would just plop me on the tractor and like put like my hands on the wheel and just be like, just go there, just go. And I would just hold it really, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like freaking out. And what would happen is like when we get towards the end, he would jump back on and then turn it. And then he would jump off. And I tell you, the fear that I had every single time I was convinced he was not going to jump on.
Oh my god.
And I was just going to keep going straight. And I was going to go into the woods or on the road or things like that. Freaked me out.
6-year-old you, like, white knuckling a
I was so scared. I was like, this is the one thing they asked me to do. I'm going to do it. I'm
That's
telling
so
you.
sweet.
And I think that's where my anxiety began.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, it's a therapy session now.
It is. And that's where I think I started to get a little anxiety when I thought my dad wasn't going to jump back on the tractor and steer me in the right direction.
Abandonment issues, intrusive thoughts.
So many of them. So, yeah, farm machinery, it's cool. You feel kind of badass when you're doing it. You know, you're like, heck yeah. Like for me, I'm like, I can do this. Like, there's not a lot of females around here that are working in the farms, the farming industry. I always tend to feel like whenever I'm in the group talking about, like, I'm the only girl there, and I'm like, hey, what's happening? But I always felt like it was kind of like cool. Like there was no reason why I couldn't. I mean, I wasn't always as strong, and that's okay. But there were things I was like super good at too. Like my favorite part was like the new calves and feeding them for the first time.
That would be so much fun. Bottle feeding
It
little baby
is.
calves.
Yes, like and like kind of getting them to drink and like and, like I had the patience to do that. Right?
Yeah.
A lot of them were like, no, thank you. We've got other stuff to do. I'm like, I will do it. I've got that.
Feed cows. That would be fun.
I know. So yeah, I love driving the machinery. I've asked if I can do some more field work this year. Nobody has given me the opportunity yet.
Oh.
But maybe we're early on, right? We're just
Yeah.
past some of the planting. So
You guys are doing like stuff year round though, right? Like I know that you can't do the field year round because winter obviously is pretty radical in Wisconsin, but you have stuff going every season.
yeah, I mean, really, winter does get to be kind of somewhat of the relaxing season. If you have obviously cattle, that doesn't stop. For us right now, it is kind of our relaxing time because although we do grow a lot in our garden right now and we do have our greenhouse, like we don't really start that until like March sort of thing.
Yeah.
So there is a period of time. Now, in that period of time, like there's everything else you couldn't get to when it was the busy season. And so if you need to fix things or prep things for the next season, that's when you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like you get to rest a little bit more, but there's still plenty to do.
Yeah, it's constant. Like
Yeah.
I know that you and I have talked a lot just in our personal lives about like mental health and stuff. I feel like I have a lot of days where I just don't want to do anything. Like I don't want to get out of bed. So how do you manage having all that stuff to do all the time and then still taking care of your mental health?
I'm probably not the best to advise on that because I don't do a great job of it. Honestly, I think part of it is just making sure there's other people that you're working with. Because when I have the days when I'm like not feeling good or I'm super busy at work, Dad will cover that. And then he might have the days where like he's super sore because he's been doing all this work and then I can help cover that. So having other people to work with is definitely one of the biggest things. And sometimes it's like trying to remember what is something that you're putting on yourself versus what you have to do. Like, there are some that are nice to have. Maybe you don't need to do something today. It might
Yeah.
be good. Like, you try to think about how that would benefit you in the future if you do it today. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. And it's maybe not that critical, and you could do it tomorrow, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
you just kind of have to give in to that. There's always some basics you have to do. Like, you have
Yeah.
to go, you have to feed the chickens. They're
Exactly.
dependent on you. It
Yeah.
sucks sometimes,
I
but
think
you got to.
that like partially makes it easier knowing that there is something smaller than you that depends on you. Like having cats has been helpful for my mental health because I
Yes.
know regardless, like if I want to stay in bed and rot, I still have to get up and like make sure their food is filled, make sure their litter box is clean. Do they have water? They're still gonna at 6:30 yell at me like put the wet food in the bowl, mother. So
Oh, little jerks. And then
yeah.
once you're up, right?
And you're up.
Sometimes, yeah, I would say most times, then you're like, okay, I'm up. I can go and do other things. And sometimes you're still like, I'm going to go back to bed. And I feel like that's okay
Yeah,
to have those times and like be okay with that.
definitely. It's
So
take and give.
it is. And having something else that you're responsible for, cats, chickens, goats, whatever
Whatever
it may
it may
be,
be.
whatever might eventually come and enjoying the little homestead. There's just, it's something nice when you go out and you see them and like they're just like so excited to see you. And even though you know mostly it's because you are the giver of the
Yeah.
food, right? And they're just like, oh,
It still
it's
doesn't
just,
make you feel any less of a rock star when you walk in
I
and they're like,
know.
"Yeah."
They're just so excited. Like when all the chickens come running, like generally, I don't think they like me very much. I'm gonna be
Oh,
honest. But when I go over, they're like, she might have food. And like they all kind
exactly.
of run over, and it's just the most fun thing. Like I love it.
It's
So
nice to
yeah,
be worshipped. That's all we're saying.
that is all we're asking for, and I don't
It's
think
just
that's
the
too
simple
much.
things.
Yeah, get something that will worship you.
That's all
I
we
love
need in
that.
life.
That is all we need. So
So for
yeah.
your garden right now, how many different plants do you
Yes.
have going?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we've been working on that recently. So we started some items in our greenhouse fairly early in the year. So we've got lettuce going, spinach. I think we also started some potatoes in there. We have like
Potatoes.
a potato patch. We have,
Ooh.
oh yes, we have planted quite a few potatoes. We actually last year in fall had planted a big box of garlic. We
Mm.
have a total planter's box of just garlic and different kinds of garlic, and they are going like crazy. It's fantastic. We have radishes, we have bush beans, we have multiple varieties of tomatoes, your peppers, bell peppers. We usually do also some like pole beans. We haven't gotten to doing our cucumbers yet, zucchini, our squashes, our pumpkins.
Mm.
Um, we have the seeds left over from last year. We had the best pumpkins. So
I
we
love
saved all
pumpkin.
those, right? Like, so
Pumpkins
we
are
saved
so
all the different
pretty.
varieties.
That's
We have the
awesome.
big blue, the
Yes.
like, yeah, I love the big blue ones. And then there's the white ones and the orange and the yellow. So we saved a bunch of those seeds. We'll be doing that. We do a lot of beets. I love beets. I'm like a beet fanatic. You
Really?
didn't know this. I don't know why. Like I even the canned beets, like I love them. I love
Beets
them.
are one of those foods that like I go back to it every few years. Like, do I like beets? And the answer is always no.
I
Like I
like
always
them.
I want to like think that they're so pretty, they're so red and like
Yeah.
juicy looking, but every
Yes.
single time I'm like this is so bitter and I don't like it.
It's just like I feel like everything else. Like you have to cook it right. You make sure there's enough like salt on it. But
Yeah.
I find that the ones that like I've grown like obviously taste different than the canned ones. They're a little bit easier. I feel like to go down. They're not as bitter. Um, but they are tough ones to like peel and things like
What's a
that and to
peel of
get
beet?
Have you seen a beet? Like a real beet?
I don't think so.
Okay. There's a hard shell on that beet.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and
Beets
the
grew like
problem is
potatoes, like just like a little skin on them. But I guess not.
it's a harder skin. It
Huh.
takes a little bit to get it off, and then at the same time, I should say thicker skin, harder skin. Like you're gonna get your fingers stained then, right?
Yeah,
Because
like
like
bloody
immediately,
red.
yes. So rubber gloves, peel them. Like I tend to do them in large batches. And then we've done pickling of beets. We still have some pickle beets from last year that we're going through. So we've started pickling and canning as well too. Because honestly, every year we end up with like a bumper crop of something. And it's just like, what is it going to be this year? Right now,
Yeah.
our radishes are crazy, and our lettuce and spinach just keeps going. Just keeps going.
Nice.
It's fantastic, but now we're freezing spinach because what are we going to do with it? So I can make dips and things like that. So
Yeah. So do you guys like
yeah.
use all the food that you produce,
Not-
or do you sell it as well?
we don't sell it, but we do have people that we supply for.
Okay.
Sounds
That
very
sounds secret and
ominous.
illegal.
I was gonna say we have, we're suppliers for multiple people.
Beets under the table.
You know it. But if you want to trade something for the beets, like let's go. So our neighbors for sure always will give them basically whatever they want. Like, because we're like old school, like we borrow their machinery, they borrow ours. Like we give them a cake, they give us a cake back in the same pan, and it goes back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
So like we have a crap ton of rhubarb, and so Florence, my neighbor, Flo, will come over, grab a bunch, and then she will give us something made out of rhubarb, usually a pie or something like that, which somewhat defeats the purpose of them taking the vegetables and the fruits, because the whole point is we have enough.
Yeah.
But I will not turn down her baked goods because they're phenomenal. So we have our neighbors, my brothers, like depending upon when we're able to see them. I have some uncles that will come get some. It's just kind of whomever. Otherwise, it's a lot of canning. It is a lot of like putting it down in the basement where it's a little bit cooler. We don't quite have a root cellar, but we do have places where we can put them like over the winter. So like we're still using onions from last year.
Oh my
That's how
gosh.
many we had. And they've stayed really, really well.
Yeah. Why is it that like when I buy an onion at the store, it gets a week at most, and then like you're over there keeping onions in your cellar for a year?
Honestly, it depends upon, you have to dry them out like a long time before you will
Yeah.
store them, and you make sure that you're storing them in something that breathes, a bag that, like, you see them with the bags that kind of have the like mesh sort of thing.
Right.
But a lot of it is kind of that, and I don't even know if they call it that. I feel like it's that period of time where they're like drying out, they're fully ripening, and then they're like ready for storage. If you try to do anything before they have fully dried out, they're not going to last nearly as long. You have
Okay.
to let them fully do that.
Hmm.
And when you're doing that, we're like hanging them various places. So I think last time we hung them all over our front porch for a while. We hung them all in our shop, and everything smelled like onions for quite a while.
Delightful.
It was delightful. It was very worth it, though. It was very worth it. So once you do that, you put them in the bags and you keep them in a cool place, usually a dark place. They'll stay for a really long time. Garlic is the same way too. So we're pretty stoked to do that this year with the garlic.
And then you can keep all the vampires away.
I know.
You're super
I'm
prepped for when
telling you.
Dracula arises.
I'm super excited. I think we did freak people out when we did have like the onions hanging on the front porch. It felt very like Castaway like. And I thought for sure people are gonna be like, we actually, because like, I feel like around here people like know what it is. We're like, somebody's gonna steal our onions. But that's okay, we have enough. right?
Yeah, sure, I guess.
It's the same thing with the pumpkins. Like, we had enough pumpkins. If somebody was going to come and steal a pumpkin, that's okay, because we had so many pumpkins. So we're still figuring out. We have toyed around with like putting a little stand by the road and just being like, fresh produce for whatever amount.
Yeah.
If it gets to be that much, because we certainly don't want to waste it. But the great thing is, most of them, the chickens, will eat and will love. Like, they
Oh,
go
yeah.
crazy over zucchini or any sort of squash. Oh my gosh, these chickens will freak out for it.
I thought chickens
Tomatoes.
just ate, like, grain.
Mm-mm. You also give them some fresh cut grass, they go insane.
Alright.
Yeah. So my dad literally has like a push mower that he will just use to give his chickens some grass. And I was
Just
like,
get a little chicken snack. That's cute.
you love your chickens.
You love the
Clearly you do,
cookies.
because you are literally mowing the lawn just so you can give them some grass.
That's sweet.
It is very sweet. It is. It's adorable. But they love anything like that. The vast majority of fruits and vegetables, you have to be careful. I think there's some they can't have. I usually try to double check, but they're pretty hardy little
Okay.
guys, so they're good. They're good.
Yeah. How's your syrup enterprise coming? Because I know that you've been tapping trees, and I'm so excited to see the fruits of your labor.
We had quite a bit this last year. This was our first year that we really got more serious about it. So the year before, we had used our second cousins. They're kind of set up to boil down the syrup. And that was rough. We were outside in Wisconsin in March, and it was freezing. And we were just sitting here and just like trying to cook down the syrup. So this year we got our own pan, we got our own stove that we had out in more of an enclosed space. It was in our woodshed, and that worked really, really well, except like we misjudged just how much we had. And so we were trying to like figure out how we get through it without starting and stopping, because then you don't want that to impact the flavor. So
Yeah.
it did turn out pretty well. We ended up getting old milk tanks that you can put the syrup into and store it, which is really, really good. It keeps it super well. So what we did is we went through and identified a lot of the trees for next year. So after we finished this last season, which we tapped much sooner than normal with the weather this year. So once that was done, we went through and we kind of identified all the maple trees, because we're still new to this. We're like, what tree is a maple tree without having the leaves?
Right.
It's tough. So what we did was we got one of my like second or third cousins, right? And he came out and he's like, that's a maple. That's a maple. That's a maple.
Okay, just a tree whisperer.
Tree whisperer. Send him out with a little spray can to mark him, right? And he keeps going. And at first we're just like, just a couple. And then also we're like, where did he go? We could not find him.
Just hear like a distant in the woods.
He was I have no idea how many. He must have tagged at least 30 trees, if
Some
not
say
more.
he's still out there tagging.
He might still be tagging right now. And this is a different type of tagging than what you think. This is for maple syrup, right? Like
maple syrup tagging.
This is the big time, right? But we did find some that we feel like are in really good spaces where this is going to get kind of crazy. So like right now we just like tap and we put a little bag in, and then we'll go around, put that into like a bucket every day, and then just keep doing that. Well, the way that some of these are arranged is that they're kind of on a hill. So we could do the spigots and things like that and attach them to like some hose and have that hose go down the hill into a tank where we could then
like a syrup luge.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, they would be connected because you can kind of connect several of the trees together because they're all kind of in this little grove, if you will. And gravity, for the most part, should be able to take care of it and take it down in there. So hopefully we just have to go and like take from that tank and put it into another one and go and do our syrup.
Okay.
It ended up being a little bit more than we expected, which I feel like is fairly normal with anybody who's homesteading or farming or anything like that. You start
Yeah.
with one idea and then you're like, let's do a couple more. Like
And then
while
how
we're
did it
here.
get here?
Yeah, because right now I'm thinking of like I need new sorts of bottles to put it in. I want bottles that like I can ship it to you and
Yes,
say,
please.
hey, have some syrup, right?
I would love syrup.
I would love that. So you have to figure out the right way to store it so that it keeps and it keeps well and things like that. So knowing that it'll be a little bit more next year, I'm starting to plan with different supplies and figure out kind of how we're going to do that. But that is a labor of love. Making maple syrup, it's a sticky process. It
I can
is.
only imagine.
You feel afterwards because I mean, really what you're doing is you're cooking down all the sap into like the smallest tiny amount of
Yeah.
sugary syrup, right? And while you're doing that, the whole point of it is like you're evaporating all the excess moisture, which is still kind of sticky in its own right. And so then like you have this like everywhere on top of everything.
The sticky
And
essence, like you're boiling
it
into the air.
is. I'm telling you, in the very first year we did it, we finished off some of it in the kitchen.
Oh no.
Never again. No, it was just the film everywhere. So this
Yeah.
last time we did finish it off in the garage, which was okay. That was fine. And we actually, now that we're redoing like the garage and our sunroom, we're putting in a specific outlet for us to roll a stove in there.
Okay,
So we
good.
can, right. So we can do that and we can do our canning right there and stuff like that. But we don't always just randomly need another stove in the garage,
All right.
you know, because you
Yeah.
have multiple appliances, multiple fridges, freezers, standing freezers, all the good stuff. Let's add another stove in there. It's great.
That's good stuff.
It is. It is. So
I
I'll send you
appreciate
some.
you coming on and like educating us all about, the facets of farming, homesteading with
Yeah.
Tracy. I'm telling you,
So
get a
many.
show.
There's so many people, I tell you, in that market, but everybody's a little bit different. I learned from so many of them. Like, there's still so many things that I'm like, I did not realize that. And I felt like I've been around here for a little while,
Yeah.
my whole life, and I'm still learning. So, yeah, maybe I will. We'll
I
see.
think you should. I'll produce it for you.
Oh, heck yeah. I can just talk forever.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
All right. Well, let's wind down this one. And
All
I just
right.
want to say, of course, thank you again so much because it was a really fun time. And it was very
Yeah.
last minute ask of you. And I just appreciate your friendship and your candor and just your Traciness.
Happy to do it.
So if you loved this episode, please tell a friend about us because word of mouth is the best way we can get the good YMBToAP into brand new ears, such as your own. Welcome. This is the show. We release weekly every single Monday. It's the every Monday guarantee. Even when one of the hosts is out or down, we are always here for you. And you know what? It's Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. This is our first June episode. I'm so happy. Welcome to Pride, everybody. Wear it loud, wear it proud. If you want to talk to us, you can catch us over there on the Instagram where we're putting up reels, and you can find us on TikTok where we're putting up TikToks, and on YouTube where we're putting up shorts. We're just all over the place right now. Every single social media, we are YMBToAP. Again, that stands for You Must Be Thinking of Another Podcast. It's up in that corner over there above Tracy's beautiful face. And of course, thank you again to the patrons. We wouldn't want to do this without you guys. You are the beating heart of the show. You help us produce the content. You tell us in the Discord what you want to hear more of, and we give it to you. And then you tell us again. So it's a wonderful cycle, and it's beautiful and perfect. And we love you very much. Our theme song is The Grim Reaper Blows the Horn by Faraj. Please check him out on YouTube. That's where this video is also hosted. And as always, thank you so much for listening. And tune next time to get the answer to that burning question. Where should I put my syrup stove?